Hey listeners, Editor Jake here again. The holiday season is still full of heartache about what to give those you love the most, and it's coming up fast. Well, this holiday season, why not give the gift of laughs with a Patreon membership to buy its cover? You can give the gift of a Patreon membership by going to patreon.com/buyitscover. We are still so grateful for all of you listening to the show and hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Ready?
So ready.
And welcome back to another episode.
I don't have the cover up for Cunning Folk.
A podcast where we choose books by their cover, consume them, and then talk about them on the show.
Sure.
I'm joined by co-host and sister Katie, and I'm Jake.
Hey, Jake.
Today's book is
I guess
Cunning
we're leaving
Folk
this in.
by Adam Nevill. Describe the cover, Katie.
Okay. It is creepy as fuck. It looks like, what are those things called? They're not pigs, but they're hogs.
I think it's a boar.
Boar. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Boar. B-O-A-R. Boar.
Boar.
Not a B-O-R-E, listener.
That's not what the show is.
That's right.
It's not a boar.
This show is exciting. So it's a boar, and it's like the boar's nose, snout, you might say, and it's got like the tusks coming out, kind of like a warthog, like how they have the tusks.
When I was a young warthog.
When he was a young warthog. You sure you don't want to start this over?
Yeah. This is...
Gold.
People should pay for this, and they can with our Patreon subscription. Patreon.com/buyitscover for $5 a month. This is more enjoyable.
Damn it.
Wait, what were you... Describe the cover.
I'm trying. Anyway, maybe a warthog snout with the tusks. That's how we got there. And then the face, like the tusk is kind of more towards you, and then the face is a little bit in the shadow, very shadowed, and you don't actually see the whole face. You just see a pair of bright red circles that are eyes, maybe. And there's ears kind of in the background, but also very darkened, like they're black. And then the background is on the top red and on the bottom gray, and the shadow that's kind of over its face and its eyes is dripping black. And it says Adam L.G. Nevill, Cunning Folk. So what made you pick this book?
I don't remember. I think I wanted a horror book.
Yeah, you said I'm going to be brave. I'm going to read a horror book.
Read a horror book.
Okay.
So let me tell you what this book is about.
All right.
Family moves to the country. As the worst neighbor is in the world. You know, the HOA style folk.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Cunning as they are with magic and paganism.
The neighbors?
The neighbors.
Okay.
Kill the dog, hurt the daughter, drive the husband mad.
Oh.
The wife divorces the husband for going mad and blames the husband for hurting the daughter. And then he ends up in a psych ward.
The end?
That's what the book's about.
That was like your one sentence, like...
Yeah, a couple sentences in there.
Okay.
So there's 5 main characters. There's 3 protagonists and 2 antagonists. Tom, Fiona, and Gracie. Tom is the husband, Fiona's the wife, Gracie's the daughter. Gracie is, I think, 5 years old. And Tom, Fiona, and Gracie move from a flat in the city to the countryside. They take all of their life savings because Tom has a vision of a more simple life for their daughter, Gracie, where she can actually go play outside.
Right.
Because that's how he grew up. And he gets a house close to the woods. They know when they buy the house that the person that was previously occupying the house hung himself.
Okay.
And that's why the house was so cheap. But the house also needs a lot of repairs.
Okay.
Tom is a freelance person and has time to go repair the house. Fiona works at the bank. And Gracie goes to school.
How old is Gracie?
5.
Okay.
Tom soon meets his neighbors, Magi and Medea.
Okay.
Moot. They're the Moots.
What a cool name.
Yeah, that's cool. And the Moots are pretentious assholes.
Okay.
The author did a very good job at making you feel like you want to slap them in their face the entire time. You know, HOA presidents.
Yeah.
Yeah. I care for our Puritan listeners, But you HOA presidents out there, what are y'all doing? Anyway, so HOA presidents, Magi and Medea, live next door. One day, when Tom is working on the house... What's up?
This is so funny. My husband was the president of the HOA when I met him.
That explains so much. But he's not anymore, so we're
He's
okay.
not anymore,
Yeah,
yep.
it was a condition of your marriage, right?
No, it
What?
just gotta happen.
Okay, my sister and I have a lot to talk about. We'll get through this episode. We'll see if there's another one. Anyway, one day while Fiona's at work and Tom is at home, Gracie goes to go play in the woods. So Gracie goes beyond the fence and finds like a whole bunch of relics on the outside of the fence, you know, a cross and some shiny mirrors and shit. And she goes with her penguin waddles and she finds she's lured there by some voice in her head. And she talks to the voice and Magi and Medea show up and they say, "Little girl, you shouldn't be here. This is a dangerous place," because she apparently is near what is described as probably like a tomb.
Okay.
A tomb for some pagan god is what it feels like. There's grass and there's mushroom rings and everything. Waddles gets left in the forest and Gracie runs back to the house because Magi and Medea are creepy as fuck.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tom is pissed at this point because he bought the place because he wanted Gracie to grow up in the woods, and now the Moots are not allowing her to go play in the woods.
Oh.
He's like, "You don't own these woods. This is green space, motherfuckers." So he runs out into the woods to go get Waddles that Gracie left behind.
Yeah.
And he's attacked by a boar.
Oh.
Sort of like a disembodied boar and a disembodied rabbit. And he sees a deceased fox that's been strung to a tree.
Yeah.
Never finds Waddles.
Creepy neighbors.
Creepy neighbors. Yeah, like really fucking with him neighbors.
Yeah.
He gets pissed and he goes over there and throws a whole fit and lets his dog poop on the yard. Doesn't clean it up. And the Moots are obsessed with their garden. Absolutely obsessed. So he lets the dog poop on the yard and he goes back to the house and he gets drunk. And he tells his wife, and his wife's like, "Why don't you just chill? Why don't you just like not bother them? You know, we just moved in. Well, just calm the fuck down." He's like, "No, you know, our rights." So next thing you know, the dog is throwing up.
Oh no.
And the dog is dead.
Oh no.
The neighbors have killed the dog.
No.
And when he goes over there and says, "What the fuck, you killed my dogs?" They said, "Well, you should have kept them on your property." And so he goes and he cuts down all of their trees that are encroaching on his fence line.
Oh my God.
This is a turf war.
Right.
This is every neighbor you've lived next to in an HOA. So he cuts down their trees and the Moots freak the fuck out. Totally freak out. Like they lose their minds. They're screaming, rolling on the ground, just like lost their shit.
Okay.
And he goes back and he is drunk again. And his wife is beside herself. How could you do this? You're an idiot. You know, we're never going to repair this relationship with them, blah, blah, blah. And they start to have dreams about a rabbit and a boar fucking them shit ups. Like just ruining their day or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's unexplained. And they start to go a little crazy. Fiona is only feeling anger for Tom at this point.
Okay.
And Gracie is afraid to go outside because she's also having night terrors. And Tom is hitting the bottle a bunch.
Yeah.
Because he's working during the day on the house to try to get Gracie's room done, to try to get their room done, the living room, make it safe and everything. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this house. But every step of the way, there's another problem, just like any renovation. Well, one of the days that he's there, he's approached by some sweaty guy, flop sweat kind of guy, who shows up.
Flop sweat?
Yeah, flop sweat kind of guy.
Flop sweat?
Yeah, flop sweat.
I've never heard that term.
You don't have any flop. I have flop.
Flop sweat?
Yeah, flop sweat.
Why is it called sweat? Why is it called flop sweat?
It's your rolls. The rolls on your body are called flops, and then when you sweat in between them, flop sweat.
So a flop sweat guy,
Kind of guy, yeah.
is flobby and sweaty?
He's floppy and sweaty.
Okay.
He shows up to the house, and he says, with lots of sweat on his face, "You don't know what you're fucking with. Your neighbors are powerful wizards, magicians, whatever. You need to protect yourself. Pay me $400, and I'll give you some magic." And Tom, who's sort of like losing his shit at this point, says, "Okay, I'll buy your protection magic." Tom's wife, Fiona, is like, "Yo, we're in debt. Why are you giving money to some fake magician?" So the magic doesn't really work. And the reason is because the Moots, actual magic people, have had a lot of time in between owners of the house to make the curses worse.
Oh.
They've put skulls in the baseboards, and they've spread animal skins in the kitchen,
But
underneath
why?
the sink, whatever.
Oh, in their house.
And no, in the neighbor's house, because they don't want any
And Tom
neighbor to
and-
live there. Tom and
Okay.
Fiona's house.
They just don't want anybody to live.
They don't want anybody to live there because they want the woods to reclaim it because of the house is so close to the grave of the god that they're entrapping.
Oh.
It like gets really magical really fast.
Yeah.
So Tom goes to the wizard guy and he's like, "Hey, it's worse than you thought." And he's like, "Yep, and you have to pay me $1,200 to get. I'll give you some more magic and instructions on how to protect the house." He says, "Fine." So Tom goes off the rails in the perception of his angry wife. He's digging up the floorboards, and he's digging up the yard, and he's pulling lead pellets out, and he's finding skulls underneath the floorboards and everything. And, she's ready to divorce him because, she thinks that he's gone crazy and is not helping and is spending money on fake magicians.
Yeah.
Well, the night that he is trying to, protect the house, the Moots have a grotesque ritual in which they're both nude, walking backwards, doing fancy dances, and sucking on the tits of each other. It's like traditional paganism, I guess, in the eyes of a Puritan.
Right.
And so they somehow, I'm not sure exactly how it happened, they somehow get Gracie to step on a board that has a nail in it, and the board comes up and puts the nail straight into her eyeball.
Oh, no.
And Gracie just goes limp, basically like a dead, right? Mm-hmm. And Tom and Fiona are like, holy shit, we got to go. So Tom drives to the hospital, and Fiona's in the back seat with their potentially dead daughter. And Fiona the whole time is, I can't believe this is your fault, blah, blah, blah. How dare you make the house unsafe? Disbelief, which is typical in stories like this.
Right.
They get to the hospital. She beats the hell out of him. And then
Physically?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he leaves because he's like, they're ruining my life. And he goes to the magician's house, and the magician is dead.
Uh-oh.
The magician exploded.
Uh-oh.
And they're like, okay, well, let me call the hospital. So he calls the hospital, and the only thing that she says to him is they're trying to save her eye. Mm-hmm. So she's not dead. Gracie's not dead yet. Gracie's a very cute character, by the way.
Okay.
Tom goes over to the Moots for revenge.
Of course.
And kills them.
Oh.
Yeah. So he goes into the house. He sneaks into their house. And when they don't realize it, he kind of jumps out of the closet and shoots them. Shoots them in the legs. And they're like, holy shit, wow, how did you do this? And he drags them outside and whatever, and he uses some of the Floppy Sweat Wizard's magic to basically kill the Moots and at the same time release the god that they were imprisoning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that good?
You'll find out. Gracie gets out of the hospital.
Okay.
Fiona divorces him. He is imprisoned in a psych ward for murder.
Oh, shit.
Of his neighbors.
Yeah.
The newspaper releases an article that says, crazy neighbor shoots neighbors. Mm-hmm. In the psych ward, he's on pills and stuff. Someone visits him, and it was a lawyer. Basically says, hey, what do you want? Because you are in debt to this pagan god for freeing her. And he says, I want to see my daughter. She says, great. Taps on the table. He goes underneath the table. She spreads her legs. He goes up and sucks on the tit that's between her legs. And then all of a sudden he appears in his daughter's room where he gets to interact with his daughter. And that was the end of the book.
So is his daughter dead?
No, alive. As I said, Gracie's alive. She just lost an eye.
Well, you said she wasn't dead yet. So
she wasn't dead. Oh, yeah. Okay. So Gracie's not dead. Gracie gets out of the hospital.
Okay.
Loses an eye. Fiona divorces him. He goes to the psych ward. Someone shows up, says, you want to see your daughter? He says, yes. She tells him to suck on her vagina tit. He sucks on her vagina tit and goes to his daughter's room where he gets to visit his daughter, which was his goal. And that's what he gets in return for freeing a god.
Wow.
There's the book.
That's a fucking weird book.
It's a fucking weird book.
What did you think about this book?
I think it was a fucking weird book.
Yeah, some horror books are really weird.
Yeah, I was not horrified. Mm-hmm. There were some parts of the book that I had a really hard time continuing with.
Yeah, like...
One, it's not my genre. Two, I really hate it when a couple is against each other instead of against a problem.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's a little bit cliche, and I think this book may be older. It's a little bit cliche to have the wife angry at the husband, and the husband is handy and trying to fix the house, and it's renovation's not going well, and he's supposed to do it himself, but he doesn't have a job right now, and they're broke. Blah, it's just like relationship problems, and that is the real horror of the book. is the relationship problems.
Yeah.
Living next to pagan neighbors is not that scary, I don't imagine.
Right.
Unless they're exactly like the Moots. But even then, you fix your fence, which is all they wanted. All the Moots really wanted was for him to fix his fence.
Wow.
Yeah. And he said, no, I'm going to make my house safe for my daughter first. And they said, you better fix the fence first. And he said, no, I'm going to go fix my daughter's room first. So if he just fixed the fence, he wouldn't have had to kill them. But it's, common escalation between two neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always starts with like this little thing.
Little bickers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay off my lawn. No, you stay off my lawn.
Stay off of the tomb in the backyard in the woods.
Yeah. And next thing you know, you're sucking on a vagina tit to see your daughter.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very odd. So I've not read this Adam Nevill book. I really like Adam Nevill.
Yeah.
Though, as an author. He's written, I think I've read 3 of his books. And I was impressed by all of the ones that I read. But I had not read this one.
I looked up this book after the fact.
Okay.
Because I was curious.
What drew you to the cover?
I don't know. I scrolled through available now audiobooks in the horror section. I was like, this has
As did I.
Yeah, this has a pig on it. So I clicked it and I read it. And my rule is if I decide to read something, I'm going to read it.
Yep.
So I read the whole thing.
You done good.
I done good. Actually, I finished this book on a half marathon, which was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I had a lot of time to read it
Yeah.
on the half marathon.
Yep.
2.5 hours or 2 hours or whatever. Yeah. So it was good. Like,
would you read another Adam Nevill
no.
book?
It's just not my genre, I don't think.
Yeah.
Not my style.
Yeah.
I don't find vagina tits horrifying. I don't find pagan rituals or satanic rituals to be horrifying. Sure, I guess.
This book might have been very scary to our Puritan listeners.
I know. And Puritan listeners, this is the book to read if you really want to be scared.
My favorite one by him, I cannot remember the title of, but there's this like scene where somebody's like running through this like old building trying to escape, and there's like hundreds of demons chasing after them.
Nice.
And it's super, super creepy.
Yeah. Adam did a fantastic job on the scene of Gracie getting the nail in the eyeball from the board and like the thump on the ground of her hitting the ground. Really good. Like when that scene was happening in the book, I was losing my mind. I was like, holy shit, this little girl just got a fucking nail in the eyeball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was very hard to, like, that was definitely gave me the feels.
Right.
So.
Anything else about this book?
You usually ask, who should read this book? And
who should read this book?
I think our Puritan listeners should read this book if they want to read a horror book.
Okay.
But our HOA presidents, they should go read something else. Because I think this would inspire them.
You think so?
To be more HOA president-y.
How would it inspire them to be more HOA president-y?
Oh, well, they needed rules about easements between their two properties and shared joint custody of each other panel of the fence. And if the fence panels were upkept with the right color stain, then they wouldn't have fallen apart, and I get to choose the stain, by the way. It's the most expensive stain at the store.
Okay, I see it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
They think in terms of rules to control your mind and your body.
I wish you all could see Jake's facial expressions right now as he delivered that
Cream
wonderful
of
nugget.
the crop.
So, what's our next book?
It's yours.
It's mine. It's the Big Door Prize.
Yeah.
Cool. Are we good? Did we finish everything?
That's it. We did the whole everything.
All right. Thanks for listening, listeners.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
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 I feel like this wasn't
Goodbye.
very satisfying goodbye.
Goodbye.
Jake.
Bye, everybody. Goodbye.
Oh, dear God.